Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Indie.XSplit Showcase. We are here yet again talking about more indie games here at PAX East. Hope you're doing good out there. Well, I am with Alec and Scott.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Hi.
We're going to look at Night in the Woods.
Yes, we are.
Night in the Woods.
Night in the Woods.
Why did we call it Night in the Woods?
Why did you call it Night in the
We
Woods?
called it Night in the Woods for a few reasons.
Yeah.
It was the name of the game that we were working on before.
Yeah, it was kind of different before.
Huh.
Yeah, it was more like...
It didn't have animal people in it.
No animal
yeah,
people.
it
No
was,
animal people.
Yeah, it was
What
like
did it have?
a solitary woman kind of wandering through the woods. It's the kind of thing I think you'd see in a lot of other kind of
like
smaller games. Minimalist,
alone,
atmospheric type of thing. And then after a few weeks of that, we were like...
Yeah,
this is whatever.
It's only so long this lady can walk through the woods.
Yeah,
You know?
and then like I was watching Return of the Living Dead, which is a great movie.
It is.
And there's all this kind of like bunch of like punk kids and like that are hanging out, and it kind of reminded me of like kind of like my youth, like kind of doing that thing. And I was like, well, why don't we just like make something that's like a bunch of like people hanging out?
I remember
and,
you
like,
drew
doing
like a
stuff.
little doodle of all the main characters.
Yeah.
And you sent it to me, and you're like, what about this instead? And I'm like, yes.
You're like, yeah,
yes,
that's better.
This
So
is
yeah,
way
it
better.
just didn't like this like weird fit. Like as I was watching Return of the Living Dead, I was like, okay, and I kind of like wrote out like a bit of a plot
Were
outline.
those
and
characters
stuff.
that you drew like from something else before?
No, well,
Okay.
they were kind of based on like I'm an animator, been doing kind of independent animation stuff, and kind of come out of like that scene and like indie comics and that kind of stuff. So I've been drawing little animal people like that. So I liked the old like Fleischer cartoons from like the 30s, and like back like in the day, like my friends and I used to do like anarchist like flyers with little black cats running around
Nice.
like messing stuff up. And so it kind of evolved out of that style. And so I just drew that, and I'm like, is this a better idea? Because I had never made a game before, whereas Alec is an award-winning developer of a game called Aquaria.
Thank you. That's a very lovely introduction.
No, this is how I've been
Winner of
introducing you at the
awards.
booth. Like whenever you aren't there, I'm like, award-winning game
Guys,
developer.
I don't know if you know.
Yeah. Do you
But
even
awards
know
have
who
been
this
won.
is?
So much pressure.
Yeah. So I didn't know how to make a game or anything, and I was like, does this sound like a better video game?
And I don't know how to make a game either, so we're
Yeah.
we make for a good
and
team.
you got an award for one.
I know, it's
What
really
hope do
embarrassing.
any of us have?
Yeah.
Well, apparently a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Turns out.
Anyone can do it.
Apparently. And that's our message to everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone
Anyone
will
can
get
do it.
awards.
It's super easy,
Yeah.
and someone will give you a prize at the end of it for doing really well.
We basically, and that's actually kind of how this whole thing began. So like and then like at the time I was like dead broke, and I couldn't afford like a Unity license. This is back when Unity cost like
Yeah.
a couple
I remember that.
$1,000s or
Yeah.
whatever before they started giving it away.
Kids these days.
Kids these
God, it's
days.
so
I don't
easy.
even know they're born.
Yeah.
You
But
get Unity for free.
it actually,
You get
they actually
Twitch
started
and you
giving it
get
out
12.
like I think 4 months after
Yeah.
we started. But then and Alex said, hey, why don't we do a Kickstarter? And ours was like right after the Hyper Light Drifter Kickstarter, which is
nice.
huge.
Yeah, that was
And
huge.
I remember saying, I'm like, no one has any money left. No one
Yeah.
was going to
No
give to
one's
any
gonna do
Kickstarters.
anything.
We spent it all on
Yeah,
Hyper Light Drifter.
and we had a Kickstarter, and it got fulfilled within the first 24 hours. And
People had
ended
a bit of money left.
up, yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit
Little
of
bit,
money.
just
Yeah.
enough.
7,000 or
Yeah.
so of them had a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh, okay, this is what we do for a living for a while. And that's
That's
kind
a
of how
nice
it started.
moment.
Yeah, it was
Like
surreal.
we just met on Twitter. We didn't know each other before
Yeah.
this.
Nice.
I just
You
kind of
hooked up
messaged
and it was
Scott.
like, what's
yeah.
up?
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, let's maybe make a game or something.
And that was basically how it is. And Bethany, who's working our booth right now, she kind of like, we're married, and she ended up kind of like working on it with us. We could talk more as we play. It's but a lot of the area that is in the game is very much based on like kind of where she grew up in central Pennsylvania. So she's
let's
over
take-
there.
let's
She's over
take
there
a
in
look.
spirit. Yeah.
Okay.
People have just been listening to us talk while they watch the.
They're just looking our beautiful visage.
Yeah,
Like just looking
it's-
upon us
we
and
are-
going, wow.
We're gorgeous. We can
Oh,
lounge
yeah.
on our like couch, like.
Oh, I
hey.
do. When nothing's on, you know. yeah,
It's like
pretty fabulous is how I get right there, just laying there, relaxing.
it's very plush.
It is. Yeah,
So what part of the game does this start at, Scott?
This is nice
Like that I'm interviewing you.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of a very constrained snippet of an earlier part of the game. The game takes place over a succession of days, and a lot of the game is about who you spend time with and what you do. You have kind of a finite amount of time. Not in the sense that we have a clock ticking down, but in I'm going to go spend the day with this person, or I'm going to go spend the day with that person. Here you see this is kind of like the remains of the night before when everything didn't go very well for you and your friends at a party. And so on a laptop, in the final game, there's going to be a few more things on her desktop.
There's actually a game that you can play inside May's laptop that's going to be like a whole huge thing on its own that I'm working on with Adam Saltzman, the guy who created Cannibal. So that's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty great. And Adam and Becca are our publishers. And they're wonderful, so we get to kind of work with them. So this is May checking in with some friends who are checking in with her. This is from B and Greg, who are kind of two of your main friends.
What's this?
Sharkle.
That's Sharkle. He just lives on your desktop. He's your little desktop friend.
It's like a little clippy buddy. He's just hanging out.
You look like you're trying to
make a game.
May has a journal that she makes little notes in, because May's had some problems in the past, and she's been prescribed as part of her therapy to do journaling. So May's been doing it for a while and now just jots down things when she thinks about them. And so
this isn't a game that particularly shies away from anything like you're saying. It's just going through therapy and things like that. It's weird because I think people see the art style and they expect this extremely whimsical experience, which it kind of is. Yeah, you immediately look upon it, and we were just talking about Sharkle, and it's like, and as part of our therapy, it's like, okay, well, so this does have a much more serious.
Yeah, well, I think that
much like life.
Yeah, I don't think that when we started off, we're like, let's get real or something, but it just came out. It just ended up being the kind of story I think we can tell. I think that we'd be really bad at telling a story that was just this kind of like, oh, gee whiz, having fun type of thing. So it's like real life kind of crept into it a bunch, particularly since the kind of area that the game is set in, this kind of like poorer blue collar type area, like a mining mill town after the mines and the mills have closed. And May, who is our primary character, is the first member of her family to ever go off to college. Her parents like saved and went into like debt over it, and then she drops out like a year later and comes back home. And she is kind of reconnecting with some friends from high school who kind of got stuck in town after that. And where they are at, their different lives kind of colliding is a big part of the game, which is why who you choose to hang out with and what you kind of choose to do with them informs kind of your experience as you go through the game. You kind of can't see it all in one playthrough because you can hang out with various people at different times.
Okay.
But that's like a lot of what the game is. And then over time, some other stuff starts coming up that we're not really talking about.
Yeah, you don't want to spoil too much.
But but I mean, you can kind of tell maybe from the title screen that maybe things take a bit of a turn at some point.
Was some of this like drawn from personal experience, or?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, 'cause a bunch of this sounds like my life, so I was listening and being like,
I think in different ways, like in specific and broad ways, it's from all of our lives. You know, like a lot of this is very much the area that Bethany is from and that I've lived in for like a whole long time. A lot of the issues that May has, as far as what she's dealing with mentally, is all of us like deal with in different ways. And a lot of the themes of the game, which are kind of, we're a little mum about right now, are things that we've all dealt with in a lot of ways. So you could kind of like look at this and go, oh, this is where these people were at this time in their lives, and this is kind of where they're from, which is nice. It's a lot of the game is May's thought process. It's a lot of her going around and getting involved in this kind of community that she's grown up in and is kind of coming back to at this really difficult point in her life. So as she does little comics in her journal sometimes, and as you go through, you're actually kind of collecting little doodles. So like your journal may look differently than other people's by the end, depending on kind of what you do. But so it's just her getting involved in this world. We wanted to kind of make, I guess, the opposite of a lot of games, which are great. This is nothing to knock this kind of thing. I love these kind of games that are very minimal, very little dialogue, very kind of stuff. And we're like lots of characters, lots of talking, very much about like relationships and community and like what's going on in this town and in this wider world. And in doing so, because it's based on some real life things, real life crept into it. So it's like, oh, we can't just take this setting from the real world and then not talk about what that place is and the issues there, you know? So it's not like it's like a documentary game about a certain place, but like you said, like you could just see it leaking into it from there.
100%.
Because it'd be weird to just like be like, oh well, this kind of like area that we're familiar with, let's just throw this in as this backdrop. It's like no, it's like now we over time, over a couple years of like living with this game and living with this story, it just kind of ended up being this weird little mashup of these cartoon animals, talking about and dealing with certain things. Honestly, and it's not completely realistic, obviously. You're platforming around buildings and stuff, but yeah, it has that in it.
It's got, or at least it sounds like it does something that I think is rare in video games, but also very important in that it sounds like it's sort of normalizing things like mental illness, things like that.
A little bit.
Like,
kind of don't talk about it directly.
That's what I mean. Not in a sense of that you're going like, this is mental illness and making a big deal of that.
We could do that at the beginning.
This is mental illness.
Mental illness.
No, but like just having that as an element there and not being like, oh my god, look at it about it.
Yeah, we're pretty proactive about talking about that stuff on Twitter.
Yeah, we're really open about it just because it's just a thing. It's just a thing you deal with,
Yeah.
So like, I think like that kind of. I talked about this a while ago. I think at GDC, where it was like, or even like the other things of like, oh, it's a poor like blue collar community, like in like that's off the highway system. It's not like New York or LA or whatever. It's just kind of like it's inland. It's based on all these like these industries that have gone away, and it's like you don't really see that a lot in games unless it's about how dirty and horrible and like scary they are.
Or they're trying to kill you.
Yeah, and like it's the same thing I think with like the mental illness thing. It's just like advocacy is good and stuff like that, and like we could make a game that was like this is like this or whatever, but it's like sometimes you just need more mythologies about things. Like you talk about normalizing, it's like we kind of just need more stories about these things
100%.
that are like
if anything, particularly in this medium, that can be more important than the thing that comes out and is just saying like, look at what it's like. Like that is important and it has its place, but
absolutely
to let people know that they're not going through something that's completely alien and weird.
You're definitely not
like,
alone in it.
Not just mental illness, but like you say, your hometown situation and things like that, and dropping out of college and stuff like that. It's all important
We
stuff.
should talk about this right here.
Pause mode.
Pause mode, which was Alex's amazing name for this.
Nice.
It's kind of like in those videos when you have like a real cat, but then like a fake stick
arm
comes on.
Which for some reason we find to be the most hilarious thing on Earth.
It's amazing.
So this is supposed to be our stick arm for May. And it's our first-person rummaging mode that you go into, and we've, over a couple years, gotten to make it do a lot of different things. Yeah. It's become our kind of way of touching the world in a way. And that's kind of like, I guess, where the adventure game aspect comes in. We don't have like a lot of puzzles in the sense of, combine 2 items and you get through a door. We're much more into putting you into different situations and giving you some unpredictable ways of interacting.
So it's like social puzzles.
That's actually a good way. We should write that down.
Yeah.
No, honestly, that's been something I've talked about a few times myself, that I've always been like, I don't know why there's not more games that do stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot more of that.
Socializing can be puzzling.
Yeah.
In and of itself, like talking to people and understanding them and that sort of stuff.
Especially like if you're in a situation like May is in, where you're coming back and you're trying to establish who you are within this place that you've left behind, and your relationship to these people that you know, but you're all going off in different directions right now. Like her friend Greg, who's just this kind of like wastoid punk kid that she hung out with after she had some problems when she was younger, and her estranged friend B, who you actually spent a lot of time with near the end of this demo. And they're all going in different places. Like B's mother died, and she's trapped in town running the family business with her dad, who kind of had like a breakdown after that. They're dealing with medical bills and all that kind of thing. And Greg and his boyfriend Angus are working really hard to get out of town. And so you're all kind of colliding with where you're trying to go in life and ending up in these kind of ridiculous situations.
Yeah.
There's a historical mural that someone has vandalized, and that's something you find out near the beginning of the game, and you're trying to figure out who did that and stuff. So there's kind of like an A to B to C, like obviously way through the game, but if you kind of go off of that path, you're going to meet a lot of different people. You're going to get into a lot of different kinds of situations that you wouldn't if you just kind of like run on through it.
Yeah, it seems like it's much like life, like
exactly
in the way that
like
life. Exactly.
Well, you have to experience it and go around, and it's going to surprise you in the things that you'll find if you do things.
And the game takes place over multiple days. I don't know if you talked about this already, but I was kind of zoning out to the game myself.
Oh no, that's fine.
That's why. Kind of getting into it and like, oh. But you have a limited number of days to do things on, so
so
you kind of have to pick who you're going to hang out with and stuff like that.
It's almost like a Persona style system.
Yeah, actually, it's a little Persona-y.
Yeah.
It's Night in the Woods is Persona 5.
Turns out that's where it's been.
This has been an ARG for Persona 5. Congratulations, everyone. We're giving away keys.
I did it. I figured it out. It's like I Love Bees all over again.
Yeah.
But just one interview. It's fine.
So this is another pause mode
looks
interaction.
like it's broken right now.
Oh, is it broken?
Oh, no.
No, there it is.
I'm an idiot.
Whoa.
I don't know how to play my own game.
Yeah.
I was like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
So a lot of these buildings, as a lot of communities that maybe aren't as like vibrant as they once were, like these huge old buildings that are kind of like partly abandoned, and it's like an old gorgeous building that used to be all these things, but now just has like a Subway restaurant in the bottom floor, and the rest is like vacant, with except for like a couple apartments and then just like a lot of junk. So here May is discovering a parade float that used to go down until it broke loose from its tethers and ran over a kid at one point, and then they
thought they'd retire at that point. That was
they retired it.
Time to go, man.
And so they've been stowing it here, and so you can, one of the things you can do if you go off the beaten path is explore some of these buildings and find things like this. Mallard has some babies.
You're pregnant.
So a lot of this is just May's experience of like rediscovering these places and going, oh, this is what was here, and this is like what's here now. And this actually ties to when we were talking about like they make horrible vermin noises.
Not a fan of that. They don't look like they're super into being touched.
Yeah.
Maybe they are. Maybe that's how they express.
They're rats.
Yeah.
They
haven't
rats.
run away, so we assume they're fine.
I don't think rats are known for their communication skills.
Not so much.
Yeah.
No, I guess it's just squeaking and running. And that's kind of the thing.
Eating, like chewing through things.
Chewing through wires and
Walking
such.
on you while you sleep.
They like
that. happens to all of you every night.
Oh, yeah.
The
every
rats.
single night. I know that because I just don't sleep.
That's I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't sleep until the daylight comes.
Yeah, then the rats are gone. Thank
scatters
God.
the rats. But up there's Lori. She's another character you could go up and chat with and start a whole other thing going. And
this feels like it's a very relaxing game at the same time. Like, I
could see that.
Not in the sense of, like, it's actually, like, chilling
I think
you out and
I would
stuff,
prefer that people play it in a more relaxed state than trying to rush through everything. And I think that's what we've seen people play it that way, I think, for the most part. Like, at our booth, it's kind of weird because we have a long line of people who want to play, but this demo can take up to 40 minutes.
Or longer.
Yeah.
So,
I guess the convention experience isn't necessarily the experience.
But people people do put on headphones and zone out and play through the whole thing. Here's Jerm. He's one of your friends that you can meet and run around with.
Germ warfare. Nice.
Jerm's a little Jerm's just that kind of like, you're walking through like town or whatever, and like you just see this kid like off in the distance in a parking lot, like way off there.
Yeah.
Like riding his bike around like a street light, and you're like, who is that kid? That's Jerm.
Yeah.
That's
that guy.
That's him. So yeah, I mean, this is the west end of town. That's the local pastor and a guy who's currently without a home, who's camped out in the woods across from the church, and they're trying to work that situation out. So we're interested and preoccupied with things other than just May goofing off. I think, although that's a lot of the game, obviously we love May goofing off, certainly. But we're also interested in kind of the community around her and how that explores some of the themes of the game. And it's also just like, I don't know, it's just the stuff that interests us, I guess.
Well, I think that definitely shines through in and of itself, and that is, I mean, I've been interviewing a lot of developers throughout this entire thing. The games that sort of stick with you, and the games you remember, are coming from the people that you can tell are super enthused about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously everyone has a level of excitement about what they're doing, but
Certainly.
when it's coming from a place like, inside them, and they're like, this is the thing I want to do. That really, like, that just infuses everyone that's watching it and stuff like that.
I think that's been one of the most rewarding things. And you can contradict me here, but it's like seeing people go like, oh, I connect with this. You know? I mean, as you can kind of tell, I mean, you're running around, you're talking to your mom, you're doing all kinds of different things. Our loading screen is great.
Weird,
Here's your Greg has closed up the convenience store when he's not supposed to, and you're out smashing fluorescent light bulbs out by the dumpster, as you do.
Oh, yeah.
There's the old train tracks out in the back across the big parking lot. But one of the most rewarding things has been people, like, in various ways saying, like, oh, May, like, I felt like I feel like her, or like this is exactly me at that age or now, or something. I think it's also like it helps that May isn't like a super idealized character. I don't think.
No,
like,
that's very important.
Like I'm 34. You're 39.
32.
He's 32. Bethany's 33, and I'm always weirded out by people who like in May's 20. I'm always weirded out by people who like are things that write people who are either teens or right after in this kind of like idealized way, or even when they like write like a younger person. Sorry, audience is watching this is probably that old.
It's fine.
But like,
it's all good.
but in this kind of like idealized way, where even if they're messed up, they're like, I'm so messed up.
Yeah.
I love listening to Nirvana and smoking pot with my friends.
Messed
and it's
up
like,
is my character.
Yeah, and it's like,
else.
as opposed to an actual, actual young people who are like gawky and awkward and kind of like little dirtballs half the time, and that's certainly what I was at that age. And that's certainly how I feel a lot of the time still. And so, like, just trying to write May as, like, that kind of, dirtball kid down the street, that we either all have been or have known or feel like, you know? So one of the cool things is, like, having people go, oh, I feel like that. That's exactly it. Or people who go, that's my town. I'm from that town. Like, and I've never seen it in a game before. Or, oh, my town's in that same kind of, like, predicament, where it's like it was a big thing and now it's not. And we've had everyone from people being like, oh, yeah, I'm from a former steel town. I'm from a former mining town. Or I live on the east coast of Canada, and for us it's like fishing. Or like our friend Alex going like, I'm from a former dairy town, and it's like all these things like, and even if people aren't like, there's little things that people can grab, and I think like or just people reading it and going like, oh, or been playing it and going, oh, I really connect with this. Like that's super rewarding, and I think that's like you can only make that kind of thing if you're, I think, willing to make something that not everyone's gonna like. I think. I feel like I'm patting myself on the back here. We're really great. We did it.
There's that, but there's also the level of yourself that you put into something.
Yeah, I think
people connect with people, and when there's a person sort of in the game, people are going to connect with that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how it is. So this is B's friends, still mess around with their band equipment from high school, except for their friend Casey, who is the drummer, left. And now B just plays the drums on the laptop, which May's not happy about. She's like, that's not drums, that's a laptop. So they throw her just into playing songs. She barely remembers how to play bass and doesn't know the songs, so we leave that up to you to see how well that goes for her. Alex doing pretty well.
I'm doing pretty good, but I wrote this song. So.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Yeah, you set this whole thing up.
We wrote the song together, so.
Oh, yeah, we did in my living room.
Yeah,
but
that was fun.
Yeah, so if you're not particularly good at this part, that is actually completely within character.
Narratively, that would make sense.
That's one of the cool things about like the genre, I guess, of adventure game. Like we didn't start off going, let's make an adventure game. It was just kind of what we wanted to do. But this fits within adventure games in the sense of like what you do is kind of unpredictable. Like adventure games are cool. One, because they are so much about narrative and character and exploration, and that's kind of really what we wanted to do in like atmosphere. Also kind of like, I guess your verbs, quote unquote, in the game, like what you end up doing can change all the time, Like you're in an adventure game, you're even in like the point and click one, you're combining items, but they're doing different things, and sometimes interacting with something means that you're doing something very different than what you were doing. Or as opposed to in a shooter, you know that in the next room you're probably going to shoot something. So
he's telling me that.
Oh, okay.
Headset. Yeah, don't mind me.
There you go.
He's telling me that I'm just being told, we got to wrap up.
Okay.
Like I don't know.
Jeez.
I've got the time in front of me. Come on, producer. Yeah, see? He's slapping his hand.
Chop.
Jeez, I asked for a clock for a reason.
Yeah.
So, Self-moderate. Seems that's not the case. But yeah, we're going to have to wrap this up, unfortunately, guys.
All right.
Honestly,
we could go on for another...
Yeah.
Was that 20 minutes?
It was 25 minutes.
Wow, that went by pretty fast.
I could talk about that solid. That looks like a really interesting. And
we only got through like half the demo, too.
That's the
There's
thing.
a whole thing after this.
But for people that are here in the room right now, they can go and check it out.
Yeah, we're over in the Indie Mega booth for another 2.5 hours.
However many hours it is.
Yeah, I guess I had us or Bethany over there.
People that aren't here at PAX, when are we going to be able to play this game?
Never. It's only here today.
Oh,
that's it.
No.
We're burning it after.
You really sold me on it as well.
Yeah,
I was
that's it. This is it. It's a beautiful...
Deleted. Well,
it was a beautiful moment.
I guess that's how art can work. So
it's out in the fall.
Awesome.
Unless one of us is hospitalized from working too hard. I've been throwing that in jokily,
but
as
it's
been getting slightly more serious as I say it. So unless one of us is hospitalized, it'll be out in the fall.
Wonderful. What can we expect it on?
You can expect it on... It's eventually going to be on PC, Mac, Linux, and
PS4.
That's it. Thank you. I completely blanked. I was like, Vectrex?
Vectrex.
It's on the Vectrex.
It's on the Neo Geo Pocket. It's on the Lynx.
Oh, the Lynx.
The N-Gage.
Oh, the N-Gage. That was good. You held it like that. That made it really good.
It's side talking.
Yeah, my friend got one. It was ridiculous.
We should have done the whole thing like that.
On N-Gages.
Yeah. Been like,
that's the future of streaming.
That's great because those things look like old telephones. Yeah. You're like, what's that?
Yeah.
What?
Well, thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
It's been awesome.
Yeah,
where can people go online to find out more about the game?
Nightinthewoods.com. And we also have 2 little supplemental games that you can get for free or pay what you want. You don't have to play them to play the game, but they're little things that we kind of did more off the cuff that are supplemental, and they kind of take place within the universe of the game. So yeah, nightinthewoods.com, go check it out.
Awesome, thank you so much, guys.
@nightinthewoods on Twitter, #nightinthewoods.
Thanks a lot. We'll be back very soon with some more games here on the XSplit Showcase. We will see you very soon.
Internet.